Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukraine says hundreds of graves have been found outside Izium, days after the town was retaken from Russia. Wooden crosses, most of them marked with numbers, were discovered in a forest outside the town by advancing Ukrainian forces. Authorities said they would start exhuming some of the graves on Friday. It is not yet clear what happened to the victims, but early accounts suggest some may have died from shelling and a lack of access to healthcare. Speaking on Friday, the head of Ukraine's National Police Service said most of the bodies belonged to civilians. Meanwhile, Speaker of the US House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, said Russia must be held accountable.
Accountable for the atrocities they are committing against little children, using rape as a weapon of war, hunger as a tool of war, and the rest. But they must be held accountable. And I was encouraging to hear how Ukraine is documenting the crimes against humanity that are taking place there now.
Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has admitted that Chinese President Xi Jinping had questions and concerns about the situation in Ukraine. The two leaders held their first face-to-face meetings since the war at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, held in the Uzbek city of Samarkand. Xi said he was very happy to meet my old friend again after Putin said US attempts to create a unipolar world would fail. The Chinese president did not mention Ukraine in his public remarks. Vladimir Putin praised China's leader for what he said was a balanced position on the conflict. Authorities say at least 10 people have died after flash floods hit the Italian region of Marche overnight. Torrential rain falling late on Thursday caused rivers and streams to overflow and inundate coastal towns around the regional capital of Ancona. Around 16 inches of rain, half a year's worth, were recorded in just a few hours. Rescuers are still searching for 4 others, including a child who was separated when a river burst its banks. In areas where the waters have subsided, the scale of the damage can be seen up close. Thick mud covering everything, cars overturned, and people's destroyed possessions piled up in the streets. King Charles III and Camilla, the Queen Consort, have visited Wales on the final stop of their tour of the UK's 4 nations. Landing by helicopter, they were greeted by a gun salute at Cardiff Castle. They then arrived at Wales's National Service of Prayer and Reflection for Queen Elizabeth at Llandaff Cathedral, before meeting crowds of well-wishers. They then visited the Welsh Parliament. With his opening remarks in Welsh, King Charles went on to express his gratitude for the condolences offered today.
I am deeply grateful for the addresses of condolence, which so movingly paid tribute to our late sovereign, my beloved mother, the Queen. I take up my new duties with immense gratitude for the privilege of having been able to serve as Prince of Wales.
Meanwhile, in London, the queue to see the Queen lying in state was paused after Southwark Park, the end of the queue, reached capacity. This was the message on what is usually the live queue tracker, saying the queue is at capacity and entry is currently paused. Please do not attempt to join until it resumes. Officials warned of waiting times of at least 14 hours. And wildlife experts have been seen making preparations to relocate cheetahs from Namibia to India as part of efforts to reintroduce the world's fastest land animal into the South Asian nation. Cheetahs had gone extinct in India in 1952, reportedly due to poaching and habitat loss, but are now scheduled to be reintroduced into India on Saturday after some arrived in the central Madhya Pradesh state. 8 cheetahs, consisting of 5 females and 3 males, were translocated from Namibia to Kuno National Park. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit the national park on his 72nd birthday and launch the Cheetah Reintroduction project. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.